let's talk about taking care of the flute. Hi, I'm a music teacher and this is my life. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and welcome to those of you who might be new here. If you don't already know, maybe you're newer to the channel, but the flute is my best instrument. That is what I auditioned with when I did my undergraduate degree in music. And so today I thought I'd make a video all about some basic daily maintenance that you as a flute player can do without any knowledge of how to disassemble or reassemble all of the various parts of the flute. This is going to help your flute last a nice long time and hopefully also help you save money on taking it in to get it professionally deep cleaned. But before we jump in, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss another video. So I have my flute already assembled and I also have my case opened, and so I thought I would sort of talk you through and walk you through how I would clean my flute. I tend to do this right after I finish playing, so that's why it's already assembled. First, I want to talk about some of the things that I have in my flute case so that I take them with me wherever I go, no matter where I'm playing. So most flutes will have either a plastic or metal cleaning wand, and then I just have a gauze that goes through the end of it. So this is what I would use to clean the inside of my flute. Something else that a lot of instruments, whether you purchase them or rent them, will have is a cleaning cloth. And this is used to clean the exterior of the flute. So this will help remove any fingerprints, or if you have a silver flute, it can actually have something that will help it stay nice and polished. And something else that you can purchase for your flute, though it doesn't come with any purchase of an instrument or rental, is powder paper. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why I use this and when I use this right now. So if I go ahead and open the powder paper, it actually comes in sheets like this. And I will show you one of them up close. It can actually be broken into two little sections. So if I hold this up very close, I'm sitting in front of a very brightly lit window, but you can see that on one side of the paper, the text is easier to read than the other. So the darker side of the text, that's there is on the side of the paper that is plain. The side of the paper I'm showing you now where the text is harder to read, that is the side that has powder on it. And this can come in really handy if you're playing the flute and you notice any sticky sounds in your keys when you're moving them, whether you're playing or just walking through a piece without it being on your mouth. So let's say that I was playing and some of the keys that I'm moving aren't making any sticky sounds. Of course, as I'm just moving the keys around, I don't hear any. Oh, shoot, I just heard one and then it went away. But if you were to have, let's say, a sticky sound on the A flat key, sometimes that happens. Here's how I like to use powder paper. So I would first start by lifting the key to get the sticky key moving. I know that this one isn't sticky, but just as an example, I would then take the paper and I want the powder side to be facing away from the body of the flute. So if I just hold this up to the camera, you can see how underneath all of my keys, I have these little beige felt pads, and that is to stop it from clanking metal on metal. So most keys will have something like that. And so what I like to do is, if I'm using it for this space here, is I will put the powder paper in here and then I will close it. Now, if I close it, the paper shouldn't move. That's a good sign. If it does move, then it may not be sealing all the way and it may be time to take it into a technician. So now if I hold this paper and I just open and close the key a few times and I gradually move the paper out, then it will hopefully get rid of that sticky sound. Now, sometimes if you have a lot of excess, let's say saliva or moisture in the flute, your paper will come back wet. It may seem a little gross, but the reason why you're putting powder on it is to hopefully help dry out the pad. And that's going to help a lot with that sticky sound. Now, something that I actually learned from someone when I was in university was that it's actually better in the long term for those beige pads under your keys if you open and close and gradually move it. For some people, it's really tempting to want to open the key, place the paper in, push down on the key and then pull the paper out. And most of the time, if you do that, there's a pro and con. The pro being that if you tried that padding strategy before and it didn't work, then sometimes if you push the key down and then pull the paper out very quickly, it can remove that squeak. But it can also have a little bit of extra wear and tear on your pads, and it's good for your flute if you don't have to replace the pads all that often, because usually they last for quite a while, so you shouldn't need to do that. But anyway, powder paper is sort of a bonus, but you don't have to do that for daily maintenance. But if you're playing a lot and you notice that sticky sound, personally I find it very irritating, then powder paper can really help. Now, is there just one right way to take care of your flute? Honestly, I'm going to say no, because you might do things in a different order than I do, but I'm going to walk you through the order that was shown to me by one of my former flute teachers, and it's stuck with me to this day, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, for me, it's a plastic cleaning rod and the gauze, but if you have one that's metal, then that's just as well. You want to make sure that you are using some type of fabric that is going to be thin enough to not get stuck in your flute. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my flute. So I have my flute, I have my gauze, and I also have my case open in front of me. So I'm going to start by putting the cleaning rod into the foot joint of the flute. Now, once I cannot push it any further up, I then take the foot joint off, and I'm going to put it down in my case. Then I'm going to continue moving that cleaning rod further up the body towards the head joint, and then I'm going to remove the body and place it in the case. The last thing that I do is I will take the cleaning rod all the way up to the head joint. Now, if I hold this up, you'll notice that you can see some black plastic and some white gauze there. If I look into the mouthpiece, I may still be able to see some moisture. So what I might do is wrap a very thin amount of gauze over the end of the rod and go in one more time. And I'm now twisting it to try and get any excess moisture out of the very end of the flute. And that way I can put it in my case moisture free. Now, I like to do the inside of my flute first, because if that's all you have time for, then that's great. You want to limit the amount of excess moisture. It's going to be good for your instrument and also good for the pads. Like I said earlier, the less excess moisture that they can have, the longer they'll last. If you're going to go ahead and polish the flute, I like to do this when the flute's already disassembled. And the main reason for this is so that if I'm wiping off maybe excess oils from my fingers, or if I'm trying to remove fingerprints or polish the silver, then this way I can do it without just adding more fingerprints. So if I'm using the foot joint, what I can do is you can either hold it from the top. I actually just find it easier to put my index finger in the bottom, and then I like to go ahead and polish underneath. Anytime that you are trying to do instrument maintenance, it's so important that you're not going to be pushing really hard against the keys. I'm going inside those spaces between the keys as gently as I can, but I'm not pushing very hard on the keys. What I might do is just a gentle wipe, and then I'll get this one on that side, and that's it. And then the last thing I can do is, since I was just touching the bottom of the foot joint, just give that a wipe, and then I can place this in my case using the cloth so that I don't get any more fingerprints on it, or I can just rest it down like this. Now I'm going to do that with the body of the flute. So I'm taking the body of the flute, which has way more keys on it, and I like to just hold it, in this case, at the top. So I'm going to start by polishing the back. This way I'm able to rest my hand. I'm grabbing it here. I can rest my hand on these flatter keys without, again, squeezing very hard or pushing too much. So all the way down the back of the body. And then I like to do a very gentle wipe on just the keys. I'm not going in where all of those pins and rods are. Sometimes those pins and rods can get little pieces of cloth stuck, and I don't always like that to happen. So I'm just doing a very gentle wipe. If your keys are not moving well, you can also find like a little bit of key oil. Sometimes music stores will sell them in little packages, like a flute care kit, but that's not necessary, I don't think, for everyday maintenance. Even wiping it down and polishing it, not everyone does for daily maintenance. Your inside of the flute part is going to be the best thing for daily maintenance. And then the last thing I'm going to clean is the head joint. Now, if I notice that the lip plate is dirty, which right now it is, I might actually give it a little exhale like it's a cold wintry day outside. And that way, I can wipe it a little bit more. And now it's much cleaner and I'm not using any water. Oh my gosh, do not submerge your flute in water ever when you are cleaning it. I have a quick story about this as I'm cleaning up the head joint here. When I was in grade 8, I thought that in order to clean my flute, I needed to submerge it in water. And submerging your flute in water is just a disaster. That is a surefire way to ruin the pads, which then all needed to be replaced. So do not submerge your flute in water. If you're going to take it to a technician and they do something called an acid bath, it's going to make it look very nice and polished, but they take all of the keys off of the body. They have a whole process where they can do that. Do not try that at home if you are not an instrument tech, because that is a surefire way to cause even more damage to the flute. So those are some of the main tips when it comes to daily maintenance. There's a couple of little add-ons that I'd like to mention in this video. I actually did take my flute in, this would have been maybe earlier in the year, but I took my flute in to have it deep cleaned and everything, and they actually gave me one of these little papers. It says to change every 6 months, but it's supposed to help maintain the silver and to help prevent it from getting tarnished. So I actually just leave this inside of the case. I have a hard case and a soft case. So I leave this paper inside the hard case, which is where my flute is as well. And then if I go ahead and close it, it doesn't cause any damage to the flute. Something else that you can do with daily maintenance or just quick maintenance, if you notice you're having a lot of tuning issues, is tuning your head joint. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So first you're going to take the head joint, and actually this is where not this end of the cleaning rod but the opposite end comes in handy. If I take the bottom end of the cleaning rod and I put it into the flute, you should see either on a plastic or metal cleaning rod a line, and I'm going to try to show this as best I can. Might be a little hard to see. I can see a line right in the middle of the tone hole. If that line is perfectly in the middle, then you don't need to move anything. If it has shifted to one side, what you can do, and you rarely need to do this, what you can do is you can unscrew the end of your flute. Inside the very top of your head joint is a cork. And so if you need to move the cork inwards, maybe let's say the line of your cleaning rod is not quite in the middle. Maybe it's slightly to the left, so you need to move it to the right to have it be in the middle. What you can do is you can unscrew it and then push. I'm not going to do that because my head joint, thankfully, is already in tune. If your line is too far to the right, what you can also do is you can push with your cleaning rod. You can push up on this. It will pop the cork up a little bit, and then you can screw on the top again and then do a quick double check. You don't want to push it out too far. If you do, you can do the same thing that I said before. Unscrew, push it down, rescrew it, and then do a quick visual check to make sure that it's right in the middle of your head joint. So that's what you need to know to help take care of your flute on a daily basis. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments below what other kinds of videos you'd like to see. Be sure to give us a follow on Instagram as well, and I will see you right back on this channel with another brand new video very soon. Bye everyone!